Hey, everybody. So I just wanted to introduce our Learn with Mage series again. We haven't done one of these in a while, and this is going to be a little bit different for us because we're going to really be going through kind of what's new at Mage. So we have our CEO, Tommy Dang, here, and I just wanted to introduce myself really quick. I'm Cole Freeman, developer advocate at Mage. And I do a lot of these lunch and learns and all of our educational related content on LinkedIn and other places. Tommy, I'll go ahead and let you introduce yourself.
Hey everyone, thanks for coming and excited to be back. My name is Tommy. I'm the CEO and co-founder here at Mage. My background, engineer, data engineer, working with a lot of machine learning and a lot of AI.
Yeah, so today really we're gonna be talking about what's new at Mage, and Tommy, I just want to say congrats on the Series A for you and everybody at Mage. It's been a big few weeks here, so I don't really want to spend too much time on the Series A, but I'd love for you to just give a quick rundown of kind of what's new here right now.
Yeah, well, back to you. Congrats to you as well, Cole. You're a big part of that. So congrats to you and the team as well. With our new raise, we were able to grow the team, improve our support, continue advancing our open source, but also adding more enterprise-ready functionality for growing teams and large enterprises that depend on Mage to run in maybe specific industries or security concerns or at different scales. So really excited about that, and also using the funding to accelerate our vision and roadmap that we have ahead that I can touch up on later in this call.
Yeah, that's super exciting to hear, and I guess it's a good moment to kind of zoom out and tie some of this back to really what we're building in our enterprise features, and that's a lot of our AI ready data features. So I wanted to go ahead and start there, but to Mage, or in your definition, what is AI ready data? How do we define it differently than, I guess, the industry standard?
Absolutely. So what AI ready data means to us is that the data that you have, is relevant, reliable, and timely, and can be used by, let's say, agents or AI in a way where it's not too much information, it's not too little information, it's the right amount, and it's fresh, and it's specific to the task at hand. Versus, let's say, RAG, where you rely on the AI to figure out what text chunks to grab and then what to make sense of it, or just dropping in some CSV files and praying that it can understand what to select or what to use in this information. Which a lot of folks, with, let's say, they want to use AI to automate something, the process is, let's go find some tables, download the CSVs, let's upload them, or maybe let's ask a data scientist or data engineer or analyst to prepare the data ahead of time and then export it to some other team for them to use. Oh, hey, we have these documents somewhere else. We can't connect to an API. Let's download it as a PDF, and then let's just drop it into our AI and let's run it and hope for the best. And then let's say slightly different use case or different instructions. Instead of, hey, I want to do this with the users, hey, I want to do this with these types of users and this information. Okay, let's go start from the beginning. Let's go and export that data again. Let's go ask that data scientist again. Let's wait a week. And then now we have data that was fresh 5 days ago to then have AI operate on that. So that's the contrast. And so with AI ready data, to accelerate your development or your use cases on how you want to apply AI in your business or internal processes, you got to make this data ready, and that's making it reliable, where the context of the data remains the same. The model can understand it regardless of what the task is. Relevant as well, meaning it's not too much data. It has to be the right amount, but then that right amount cannot be computed ahead of time, because what if I ask, hey, figure this out for all the users in 2025 or for all time? So what's the right amount? That changes. And then timely, this needs to be up to date. If I ask you to do something very sensitive and it's operating on data that someone gave me 5 days ago, that it's not gonna, that task it's gonna complete is not going to be, the best quality.
Yeah, no, that's, that's a super interesting way to put it. So, when I think a lot of people, when they think of AI ready data, it's just like clean data, but really it's so much more than that. It's like a whole execution layer almost of how your data needs to be relevant and timely as well.
Yeah, actually, so how we prepare, we call it context compiling. So it's part of our system for AI ready data. It actually doesn't require you to have clean data. You can have duplicate rows for all it cares. That does not matter. What matters is, what we do is we prepare that data ahead of time. We do a lot of machine learning, semantic learning. We do a lot of extraction, a lot of aggregates, and then we store it in memory in different vector stores. And then we also layer on some RAG on top of that. So we do many different things. And then it's at the time of execution when the agent or the AI runs, it needs the information to figure out what actions to take based on what inputs that you gave it, like instructions, example. What we then do is it doesn't matter about the data quality. You could have duplicates, because you asking what users, I need to send text messages to engage users, I need to send a coupon and an email to churned users. Well, the agent will know, look, there's an ID column. Obviously, if it's a duplicate row, I'm gonna need one of those IDs, and so on. So actually, as long as you have your data inside, with Mage and we make AI ready, you don't have to do that data cleaning ahead of time. Even if, also, let's say you do want to, that agentic use case is one way you could use AI ready data in Mage. Another common way is to data model. So, data model, you have all this raw table, bronze, whatever, silver, and you need to spend a lot of time joining, combining, aggregating, group bys, etc. And then you get this SQL, and then you can run it and then export somewhere. So what you can also do with Mage is, with the AI sidekick and us understanding of that data, you just start, look, I want gross margins for this and that, and forget taxes when it's for this country, etc. And then you have 5 tables, 10 tables. It will generate that SQL, that join for you. And then, of course, ahead of time, it understands, look, there's these duplicate columns, there's these unique values, etc. And it would generate that data model in a way that would dedupe, would parse, would normalize your values for you.
Sure. So I guess what was the moment that you kind of figured this out? Was it like a production failure of some kind, or like what was your aha moment for?
Yes. It was actually, it was working with several customers, and they wanted to use AI, and they had a lot of great data. They had reviews data from an API. They had their website data. They had their Shopify information. They had their own spreadsheets. They had their own designs. They worked with a marketing agency, right? They had other documents. And so they wanted to create some automations around their business in terms of being able to generate some suggestions on room furniture designs, but also another one was to be able to automate packaging or marketing certain products based off of reviews. And so when we were working with them, we saw that we had to help them, or they were also in partnership preparing that data, and they had to prepare the data in a way, slightly in a different way per use case, and there was overlapping. Both use cases were using reviews, both use cases were using website, and then obviously some were using different data sets, like different tables in Shopify. And so we saw that they were using the same things in slightly different ways, and we realized that, okay, they want to accelerate their work, they have a ton of data, and they have to do all these steps ahead of time. And then we saw some other customers facing the issue. And then we thought back to our original, when we first came out with Mage a long time ago, before AI was hot. We were a low-code ML platform. We helped you prepare your data, because ML is all about preparing the data. It's feature extraction, training, testing, splitting the data, etc., to train your model. in today's world, you no longer need training data per se because the model's already trained. You actually just need the data. It's almost as if the data preparation is moved upward because in machine learning, you pass it feature vectors, right? And then it has a bunch of weights. So today, you're almost passing it a feature vector in a sense that you're passing it context, you're passing it your instruction, you're passing it its context. And so that context that you pass ahead of time, we move the data preparation from all the way at the beginning to now, at that runtime. And so thinking about the evolution of that, the problem we were solving prior, how the world has shifted and what our customers are, the bottlenecks that they were facing today, we realized that, this is actually a big problem. And we faced it internally as well. So that was a big one.
Yeah. So I guess how many customer conversations did it take before it like really clicked for you? Like, oh, this is not just a one-off. It's everybody's going to eventually need this, this type of AI.
Yeah. So, we first started off, first had the idea after talking to working with about 3 customers, and it wasn't going in there and saying, hey, do you have an AI ready data problem, right? That didn't happen. We just worked with them on getting their data into Mage, and then how they wanted to get value out of that data. And then that pattern started appearing, the reflection started appearing, and then we spoke with over 24 other customers and saying, hey, without mentioning, hey, do you have AI ready data problems? We say, hey, do you have any AI initiatives? Yes. Okay. What are some of your challenges? What's slowing you down? Why don't you have it? Why do you have it? What's the workflow like right now? What are you doing? How are you filling in those gaps now? And then a common pattern started to start appearing.
Yeah. So I guess there's a piece of this that I think's easy for people to miss, and that's that the right context isn't just like a fixed thing. It changes, over time. So I guess why can't you just define the right context once and kind of call it a day? What kind of needs to happen there?
Yeah, so let's say you wanted to do something with your users and their website activities and their purchases. So you want to define the context once. So let's say your original goal is I want to create a report, or I want to create a coupon for everybody who has visited my website in the last week but has never made a purchase. So what are you going to do? You're going to go grab the users table, you're going to go grab the website table, then you're going to grab another table, you're going to do a bunch of group buys, etc. You're going to get this data set, and then you're going to download the CSV, and then you're going to go wherever you're creating your automation for your agent. You're going to upload the CSV, you're going to give it that instruction, and then you're going to say, send this email or create this coupon, here's my API key, whatever. Then you're going to run it every day. So then a week later, well, the week is gone. These people, you've affected these people already. Are they going to come back? Have they come? Maybe they came back and still didn't make a purchase, right? So do you want to re-engage them again? Maybe you do. There's new users. Oh, maybe an upstream table collected more information. Now we have demographics. Now we have time on site. Okay, so now you want to go change your agent's instructions. You want to say, hey, you know what? If someone spent more than 5 minutes on my site, I want to then send them a push notification for a coupon instead of just create the coupon. Okay, so now you got to go redo all that information again, then do all that again and put it all together, join more tables, etc. And then another team comes along and says, I want to do almost what you're doing, except I don't want to do users. I want to do family members. Okay, well, go do what I just did 90% of the way, and then do all that manual work again, just to wait 5 days later for it to go stale.
Yeah, no. So, what is what's the cost of getting this wrong for a team, or just ignoring it and not, worrying about it? Maybe not getting it wrong, just, thinking we don't need it.
The cost is opportunity. One, I would say opportunity cost. So let's say you have an idea, your marketing team, your business ops teams, whoever has an idea. Hey, I do this manually a lot. I have this really great idea. I would love to automate. I tested it out with a bunch of scripts or click buttons. But the hurdle to do this on all our users, on all our database, on all these tables, the hurdle is quite big. I don't know how to cross that chasm. You know what? I'm just gonna parking lot this idea and not even go through it. You know, it's almost like it's too much for them to want to even go through with, even though it's a great idea. So it's a lot of opportunity costs. Then let's say someone else. Let's say there are teams, there's dedicated data scientists that prepare all this information. Then you might have different people defining, engagement users differently. But then obviously you could overcome that with creating a core table, a goal table that says, this is exactly what engagement means. But the cost comes from them having to, maybe I'm ingesting the data differently, maybe I am joining the data differently than how you're joining it. And again, of course, you could mitigate all these with some dedicated team that is only responsible for canonical data sets and views and snapshots of users. But okay, so fine, let's say you do have that. Then let's say you wanted to build an agent that operates on this super join table with 10 other tables already. So let's say you give an instruction on, hey, do this every day. So now you have this data set, 1,000 columns, 1,000,000 rows. Then you're up to the mercy of the agent to figure out how much of that data do I need? How do I get that slice of information? And if you're not inside of Mage, is this information up to date? Or how about permissioning? There's some PII information in there. Should I drop it before, should I create another table that drops the PII, then have the agent just read from that table? Or do I have the agent read from the original table because it's going to get up to date, but then expose the PII?
Yeah, no, that's super interesting. I just want to say one thing before we get to the actual last question, and then maybe some sort of demonstration. If you're in the audience and you have questions, please go ahead and drop them as soon as possible, just because LinkedIn and YouTube do seem to be on a 40-second to 1 minute delay. So I want everybody to be able to get their questions in before we end. But moving on to this next question, some people listening might think we're not really an AI first company. We don't need to worry about it yet. Why do you think every team's going to eventually face this hurdle or problem?
Yeah, absolutely. So, if teams are saying we're not an AI company, etc., I would ask, are you using AI? Most people probably are in some form or fashion, ChatGPT, or to write code or to answer questions. Even if you Google things, you're using AI. So then I'd ask, are you doing anything that is repeatable, that is tedious, or you're doing on a regular basis? That's an opportunity to inject some AI into that process. So with all of that, I would say there are lots of opportunities for teams, companies to use AI. But let's say you're completely AI, agnostic, you're not doing anything. Why should I care about this? Well, do you have data? Do you use that data for anything? If you don't, obviously then this doesn't apply to you. But if you are using that data, are you the only one using that data? Are there other teams that depend on you for that data? Are they blocked on you? Do you wish you could do more with that information? Well, with Mage, with the AI ready data, we make it possible to do more with that information. Yes, we use AI underneath the hood to get understanding of it and to put it into a place that you can then feed it to AI as context. But there's more to that, even upstream, because let's say you don't want to do any AI use cases. Well, with AI ready data, because we have the way to understand it, to compile the context, we're able to help you explore the data. You could just select a bunch of tables. Who knows how they're combined? You could just say, hey, just tell me what you can tell me about the users. And then the agent will figure out, okay, well, it seems like users visit the website. Users return information. Users leave reviews. Great. Bam. Combine. Here's what I found. Users who leave a review ends up buying 5 times more products.
Yeah, that's super awesome. So that kind of wraps up the question answer portion. I was wondering if you had anything you wanted to share with us in terms of Mage, the platform itself.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll share some of how you could use the AI sidekick to really, to help you with your day-to-day. So let me go ahead and share my screen. Let me know if the screen is sharing. Awesome. So here, we're inside of Mage, and let's say what the first thing you would do is you'd create a workflow. And so normally you could create it manually. You could create a pipeline, add some blocks. You would then write the code, run it, see the output, see something didn't work, fix it, change it, rearrange it. Then after a bunch of iteration, you're good. You're good to go. With Mage, I can just have it, create a pipeline that loads fake data and exports it to, let's say, disk, for example. And then you could then send that, and what it'll do is it will do exactly what you would have done. It would figure out, okay, is there reusable code, reusable blocks? Cool, let's use that. If not, let's go ahead and just generate that code. Did you want it in SQL? Did you want dbt? Did you want Python? I could have specified that. Then it will assemble it based on, logically what steps should go. Then after it's done, it's going to run them one by one to make sure the code's working, the output is working, the output is being passed to the correct next step, and it's eventually doing exactly what you want. And then you could schedule it. You could have it run hourly, daily, however you want. And let's say it fails along the way. It will check the logs like you would normally do. You would, as a normal engineer, working on something, you would check the logs. You would have to scroll down, find the code, figure out, okay, here's the error. What does this error mean? Fix the code, rerun it, click retry, get the output again, see, hey, did that really work? And back and forth. With the Sidekick, it does that back and forth for you. So as long as you know what you want to do, you write it out, let it run, go get your coffee, come back. Great, it's running, the output is working, and it's running on a schedule that I said, every 15 minutes, etc. In addition, after you build out your workflows, a lot of time is spent on monitoring, debugging, etc. So what I could do is, I could go to the failed, see the logs, see what went wrong, and then try to fix it myself. Or I could just fix it with AI. And what it'll do is, it has the run, it has the logs, it knows exactly what block failed, it has the exception. So I can just have it fix it, and then it will automatically rerun it and keep running it until it's fixed. Maybe it didn't fix it on the first try. So then it will attempt a second time, update the code, maybe the inputs are different, maybe it has to retry a separate block, and then it'll keep going until it's done. Normally like what a normal engineer would do on a regular basis. So this would just cut out all the back and forth tedious labor that you would do and just do that part for you.
Yeah, and one thing is really good. It's with this being internal to Mage is not having to copy and paste into Claude or ChatGPT or anything like that. So it's reading. It has context of all your failures, all the logs,
yep.
Everything that you need to really fix your code from within the platform.
Yep.
Yeah. So, any other features you want to chat about or walk through?
Yeah. So that is just using the AI Sidekick for building things. You could also debug things. In addition, if you're a big team, you could use it to provision new users, workspaces, permissions, right? Hey, create this permission to read only or view only or edit only for this type of pipeline or this specific pipeline. All of that you could use a Sidekick to do. You could have it do all your Git commits, your version control, charting. You could even say, hey, what runs or what pipelines are increasing in memory usage over time? Fix it, right? All of those things. So you could really just debug or enhance everything that you'd want to do inside of Mage. You could also, people use it for, hey, I'm new to the team, there's 500 pipelines, what does everything do? Tell me, give me a summary of what pipelines are reading from this source. Okay, what pipelines are writing to this source? So all that without having to click through everything and read the code for everything. Now, I guess what I want to show was, let's say you wanted to explore data. So here I have, let's say, a bunch of tables: taxi, user, subscription, events. And I just come here and let's say I'm not the most data technical person, but I understand what users are, right? Maybe I'm a ops team, marketing team. I can just say how many users visit the site. Well, let's take a step outside of this. We know that obviously this data probably users is related to websites, okay? So we know that. Now let's jump back in. So obviously it's going to understand that those are related, and so it can join them. So then I could ask, what insights do you have on that? And then it understands how they're combined and how to produce that information. And all of that is the context compiling that I just talked about. And then I also asked it, what data sets are you using, just to do a valid check. I just wanted to check to see, hey, is it just making stuff out of thin air? It could have just been saying, I'm just grabbing Google data. But no, it's actually using that information. Now, I also see that it didn't use subscriptions, and maybe because I didn't ask it anything that had to do with subscriptions. But I just wanted to know, well, is subscriptions even related, or is that just some random table? Well, actually, it told me, yeah, it is related. It's related on this column. And it gives me more information about that, on what types of users, etc. Actually, that's actually pretty cool. It told me the engagement scores of different users by their subscription plans, which is, I think, company size or like mid-market, etc.
Yeah, so this has been a great little short demo. I just wanted to kind of wrap things up here and let everybody know that if you have any additional comments, you can always leave them in LinkedIn, and we will respond to them post this session. But thanks, Tommy. It's been a great little introduction to what's new and coming at Mage.
Thanks for having me. Super excited. Can't wait to come back and show off some really cool other use cases.
Yeah, definitely.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye, everybody.